So I stayed in the woods at Salcombe, just above the estuary, for another day and another night. It was really lovely there. Just 3 days of rain, but eventually I managed to escape the rain. I'm a bit of a rain dodger. I painted Salcombe, got a painting done, and then moved on to Hope Cove. It was a long walk, but I got there, was greeted by a beautiful view from the cliffs there with a rainbow. Set my camp for the night, pitched my tent overlooking the bay. It was beautiful, and the most amazing sunsets. It was just so peaceful up there. There's nobody around, no dog walkers, no ramblers, no walkers at all. So I just had the place to myself for the night. I was there to do some painting as well. I did get some painting done. The tarp came in handy. It weighed nothing. It packed down to practically nothing. It was only a £5, and it made a really good shelter. It was a bit drizzly, so I had to put a shelter up, but there we go. It worked fine. I stayed in Hope Cove for a couple of days. I got some painting done. This one was actually for a customer that had requested it. So essentially it was the first commission that I had, which they were very happy with when I sent the picture over. They'd lived there or visited their granddad when she was a young girl, so she remembered the place really well. But after I'd stayed there a couple of days, I moved on. It was a big, tough walk. I went through Bigbury-on-Sea to begin with. Then it was just a lot of cliffs. It was this point that I realised that my vertigo had started to dissipate. I've been petrified for heights for my entire life, but I realised that was leaving me. So I had this image in my mind. I wanted to paint it. It's literally looking down at the sea from high up on the cliffs. You can see the gulls below, perspective, and the side of my boot. And it's a bit of a landmark painting on the walk, because I realised my fear of heights had left me, and I was much more comfortable with it. But I kept going. It was a tough walk. Another couple of estuaries, and then all the way through Plymouth, which was a nightmare, and then ended up getting the ferry across and made it to Cremyll.
Good morning from Cremyll, which is quite important if you know where Cremyll is, because Cremyll is in Cornwall. So I've made it to Cornwall. Well happy. Devon was very nice indeed, of course, but Cornwall is a landmark. That's a biggie now. It also means that I've broken through the 200-mile mark. I've just looked on the distance calculator of the South Coast Path, and which you can do, it's really cool. And Cremyll is 219 miles, so that means I'm more than a third of the way through the walk so far. I'm feeling good. Pushed through Plymouth yesterday, went from Hope Cove, had a few tricky bits, made it through Plymouth, met up with a good mate. I got a bit itchy because I'm not used to being in built-up areas now. It's really strange. You kind of get into a city, and there's loads of people around, and there's cars and weird. And I just had to get out of there. Plus, it's pushing on. I needed to get the ferry from a place called Stonehouse, I think it was, Stonehouse, across to Cremyll, and the weather was just looking dire. And I managed to get the second to last ferry, and if I hadn't have got that ferry, I'd have been screwed, because I'd have been stuck in Plymouth with nowhere to put a tent up other than like a park or something. So I made it across and found I got delivered into this beautiful estate on Cremyll. This kind of incredible estate. It's really, really just lovely and maintained, and quite posh. So I kind of stomped through the place around the orangery and the place. Don't know how to describe it really. It's all really manicured with a country house and everything. And there was the coast path just followed the the end of the estuary of the River Tamar, and then it went into some beautiful woods, really old woods, really beautiful old woods. And it's a bit, I found that the most out of the way place that I could find to set up camp, and yeah, it was getting a bit dark, and I had a look this morning, and I'm kind of in between what I believe is a golf course just up there and a footpath which is just over there, but I'm hidden away in some trees, kind of out of the way. There's a few people, dog walkers, been walking past. It does seem like a very popular place, and I'm in the middle of two popular walk-throughs, which is a bit dodgy. But yeah, set the camp up, put the tarp up, which is just amazing now. I got such a good night's sleep. I realised the benefits of having that, even though it's a bit of a tacky tarp and it's blue, sticks out like a sore thumb. At least it's dark blue. But it just means that you can set it up quick and get the tent underneath it, and it stops the wind, it stops the rain, and it just creates a shelter. It's all pretty obvious really, isn't it? But that means so much. One thing that I've realised is that the condensation is really bad in that tent. It just, you're hot on the inside, it's cold on the outside. That creates condensation, drips down the inside of the tent, creates puddles. Not good. And that gets cold, so and damp, and all your stuff gets damp. And the other thing is, if it's windy and the tent on the outside gets chilled, then that creates more condensation, because warm inside, cold outside, condensation. Can't really sleep with the door open that much. It's a bit tricky with that. I've tried that. Yeah. And of course, when it rains, it still leaks. So the risk of it raining last night was pretty high. It did a bit. But with that tarp up, it stopped the wind blowing. Obviously it's waterproof, and it just creates a good night's sleep. I had a really good night's sleep. It's not too bad. I mean, if anybody was over here and they saw, they'd see that. It's not bad. But got my plan today. I'm just going to break down the camp. I'm starting early. It's only 8 o'clock at the moment, and I'm just going to walk. I think it's about 11 miles to the next little towny bit, and I'm struggling quite a lot with power, to keep power on my phone, which I really need. And I mean, in most places, obviously you can go to a cafe or a pub. It's dangerous going to a pub. You have to sit there for at least, to get a decent power charge, you need about 2 hours. You can't sit in a pub for 2 hours. Well dangerous. In a cafe for 2 hours, it's a lot of coffee. I can't just keep spending money on sitting in places waiting to get 10-15% of charge on my power bank, so that I've got another day or two of power. I come up with a little plan, I think. Because in towns, usually there's a library, and a library has got plug sockets, and you can go in the library and you can sit and read books or go on the internet. Libraries are waterproof, and you can sit there for ages reading a book. It just looks like you're really intellectual, and in the meantime you can charge your power bank up for like 3 or 4 hours. Anyway, camp. The other thing is, look at the size of that sweet chestnut tree. It's massive. I've never seen a sweet chestnut tree that big. It's so big that it stopped growing in the main tree, and it's got another about 10 trees growing out of it that are normal sweet chestnut sized. And it made the perfect little kind of cover to put the tent under. Anyway, interesting fun fact. Only realised from watching a YouTube video that sweet chestnuts not indigenous to the UK. They were brought in by the Romans. So if anybody ever asks, what did the Romans ever do for us? as well as Alexanders. Wild Alexanders, really nice to eat. It's like wild asparagus. Find them on really, really straight, long roadsides, because apparently the Romans brought them in, planted them all along the roads that they built, so they always had something to eat. Another fun fact. Anyway, here's Cremyll. Can't remember the next town along. Hopefully they've got a library, but I've got an 11-mile walk to get there. And it looks pretty straight, pretty round the goes, and hopefully it doesn't go up and down too much, so I can get there quicker, or sooner rather than later. If it starts raining, I'll just have to push through it, I reckon, and just try and get there. Anyway, hello Cornwall.